All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So it's Combine week. Obviously, with the Combine comes rumors, comes reports, and we typically see a quarterback start to pull away from the rest. Now, I feel pretty confident with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward being the 1-2 in this upcoming class, or however you want to mix and match that. It really feels like it's those two guys and then a drop off. That's how I'm viewing it. That's how a lot of people are viewing it. But with QB3, that is up for debate. It seems like there's a lot of discourse on the quarterback three, on the actual quarterback rankings. Some people have Jackson Dart. Some people don't have Jackson Dart in their top 5. Some people have Tyler Shuck as QB3. Some people don't have Tyler Shuck in their top 5. It's really, really interesting. But in this one, I wanted to talk about a quarterback that, from a Jets mindset, looking at this thing from the perspective of the New York Jets, or, a Jets fan here, who maybe gets me the most excited, right? I think Kyle McCord is that guy for me, based off of where we can potentially get him, based off of system fit, based off of what we've seen at Syracuse. And, I by the way, I'm not saying we need to draft him at 42. I don't think the Jets should draft, unless you have a quarterback maybe fall to the Jets at 7. If that's the case, I think the Jets would think about it. But if both, Sanders and Ward are gone, the way I'm looking at the draft, 7 is a starter. However you want to spin it, right? Tyler Warren, Ted McMillan, Will Johnson, you want to trade back. However the Jets want to do it, right? There's so many positions of need. There are so many positions that you can attack at spot number 7 and be totally fine. Totally fine. And then at 42... personally, again, given the strength of the quarterback class, I don't necessarily want to see them select a QB at spot number 42 because I think you could probably get one a little later. But 42, again, because of the roster holes, safeties, D tackle, linebacker, wide receiver, tight end, right tackle, quarterback, there's a lot of corner too. There's a lot of needs, rotational pass rusher on this squad. That's a starter. The way I'm looking at this draft, pick 7 and pick 42 are 2 lock-in starters. Ruling at the quarterbacks, out at spot number 7, like if one were to fall. But I think however the Jets want to do it, you are going to get 2 day one impact pieces right then and there. Now, of course, if the Jets love a quarterback, they fall in love with Jackson Dart, they fall in love with Kyle McCord, and he's there at pick number 42. Who am I to say, oh, Darren Muji, you're wrong. Oh, Aaron Glenn, you're wrong. Oh, Tanner Engstrand, you're wrong. You guys don't know what you're looking for in a quarterback. Obviously, I'm not going to sit there and dispute that. If there is 100% buy-in from the organization and coaching staff with a specific quarterback prospect in this year's class, of course I can have my opinions on guys. But if that's the case, again, just go out and get your guy. Now, if there's a question, yeah, we like him, but we don't love him. I think he probably fit the system, but you don't have that conviction. You don't have that guarantee. Then you don't take the quarterback. You don't roll the dice like that on a whim, right? Hopefully he works out, because those types of quarterbacks, they just don't. It just doesn't really feel like they pan out all that much. I think a big reason why is because, of course, you have your first round guys, you have your first round quarterback prospects, and even in round 2 you have. Even though they're considered maybe more so developmental guys, they're still viewed as highly regarded prospects. And when you start getting into that round 3, round 4 territory, you're coming in this weird spot because, the team just spent a valuable pick on you. Like, the expectation is, okay, you got to perform. Like, third round picks can actually come into the NFL and start. 4th round picks can start on specific teams. You're being taken in the 3rd and 4th round. Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins. You need to be able to contribute. Like, this is a pretty solid pick here. But you're not a first round quarterback prospect. You fell to round 3 at the quarterback position. You weren't taken in round 2 unless there was some crazy, negative, like an off the field issue, maybe like hand size issue where a lot of teams are out, but one team buys in. It's really, you just don't really see that 3rd round pick, that 4th round pick pan out typically because, again, they're not as talented as the top tier guys. but they have kind of a similar pressure on them because the team was still, they still selected him with a valuable pick here. But when you have those guys coming in round 7, there's no pressure at all. There's no pressure. I mean, of course, pressure to make the roster, pressure to, hang on to the practice squad. But compared to, what the first overall pick has to go through, turn around the franchise and everything. If you're picked in the 7th round, I mean, that the fan base, the expectations aren't you're a franchise quarterback. If you're picked in the first round, you better be a franchise quarterback, or else we just wasted a first round pick. But to kick this thing back to Kyle McCord here, coming in at 6'3", 225, and off of a season back at Syracuse where there was just so much production, yards, points, touchdowns, wins, right? You kind of feel like Syracuse is back a little bit under Fran Brown, of course, but Kyle McCord was such a big part of that. Such a big part of that. Like where I naturally gravitate towards are those higher floor quarterbacks, guys that can step in. Of course, right? The 100% understanding of the offense is already ingrained. It's understood, right? If I get this defensive look, I know where to go with the football, right? I can make good decisions based off of my overall understanding of the offense in specific plays, but also what I'm looking at from the defensive side, based off of, of course, football IQ, but also film study, right? You get up to the line and you know where those blitzers are going to be coming from. You get up to the line and you know what maybe coverage is going to be swapped in the back end. You already have a pretty good understanding of what the defense is trying to do. And then from that point, right, if you know your offense and you know what the defense is doing, it's a pretty good indication of your quarterback being able to make good decisions with the football, throwing to the open guy, throwing guys open. And then from that point, you have to ask the question, is the quarterback throwing accurate passes? Because if he's not throwing accurate passes, all that stuff before doesn't really matter, and they're never really going to be a starter at any point or even a reliable backup. McCord kind of checks that box, knows the offense really well, knows what the defense is trying to do, can identify what the defense is doing pre and post snap, and then be able to have that overall football IQ. Okay, I know where to go with the football now. He's not a quarterback that, to me, gets overwhelmed by what he's seeing. And he, by the way, he to his credit, he was a really highly regarded quarterback prospect coming out of Philly. Of course, goes to Ohio State, and ultimately, I mean, he won at Ohio State. He looked good at Ohio State. It just wasn't up to the standard of Ohio State, which is pure excellence. Ends up going to Syracuse, so we all know the story. But when I'm thinking about maybe like a pro comparison or guys that Kyle McCord reminds me of at the next level, he kind of falls into that Jared Goff archetype. I'm not saying McCord is Goff, right? By no means. If I felt like Kyle McCord was Jared Goff, I'm taking him at spot number 7. Obviously, that's not the case, but just similar skill sets. Similar, hey, if you take McCord and you put him in that Lions offense, I think you would probably see similar tendencies from the quarterback position. Now, with that said, I still feel like McCord needs time to develop. If the Jets were to draft him, I don't think he should start this season. Now, of course, the big con with Kyle McCord is the overall arm strength, right? This is being talked about a lot. Personally, I think it's good enough. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's too weak for the NFL. The way I kind of look at, overall arm strength in the National Football League, once you clear a certain threshold, you're pretty much in the clear. I mean, we've seen quarterbacks go out there and have tons of success with weaker arms. Jared Goff being one of them, Tua, Derek Carr. You don't have to have Mahomes and Josh Allen level arm strength to be a successful quarterback, obviously. But again, with Kyle McCord, picturing him in this Jets offense where he's handing the football off a lot, where there is a reliance on the quarterback making smart decisions with the football, a quarterback having to deliver accurate passes over the middle of the field and underneath with the occasional deep shot. I think that's the type of system that I would like to see Kyle McCord in. So for those reasons, he's probably my number 1 developmental guy out of this list. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section regarding Kyle McCord. Do you prefer him or maybe a Tyler Shuck, maybe a Jalen Milroe, maybe Quinn Ewers, maybe Jackson Dart, right? I'm really curious to see where you stand. Who's your top developmental quarterback in this upcoming class? I think it's a really cool topic. And also, too, with the Combine this week, which is, because there's going to be one, whether it's on the field, whether it's physical measurables, whether it's in the interview process, one quarterback will start to pull away. I think this is right around the time that J.J. McCarthy started, make it. I mean, when the season ended, people had JJ McCarthy as a 3rd-round pick. He was not being talked about in the 1st round. Then all of a sudden, as the process went on, he's starting to be talked about more and more, or he started to be talked about more and more and more. And, of course, the draft stock rose so much. He was a top 15 pick, top 12 pick. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.